Since I was young, I harbored a deep resentment toward my beautiful younger sister. She always seemed to want everything I had. I was constantly told, "You're the older sister. You need to be patient." But no matter how much I tried to follow that advice, she ended up stealing my husband from me while I was pregnant. Now, after everything she's done, she has the audacity to demand a grand celebration for herself. It's shocking and outrageous, but I'm no longer alone. Life as a single mother has been incredibly tough, but I've found my strength and the support I needed. "Shall I lend you my husband?" she teases, but honestly, I'm doing just fine without one. I'm Taylor. At 29, I work as a librarian. My jet black hair is often pulled back, my face mostly free of makeup, and I wear thick, unwieldy glasses. My freckles, though often overlooked, are my personal charm. I'm just an ordinary woman, nothing spectacular, yet still, I stand out in my own way. Then there's my younger sister, Yasmin, at just a year younger than me. She's tall, with flawless skin, her perfectly styled curly hair, expertly applied makeup, and radiant smile exude a captivating charm. She seems to live in a different world from mine, one where everything comes easily. Our parents adored her, the beautiful girl loved by everyone, while I often found myself pushed to the sidelines. The contrast in the attention we received was impossible to ignore, and I constantly found myself craving their love, desperately trying to prove I mattered. I may not have her beauty, but I threw myself into everything with unyielding dedication. I worked tirelessly, believing that while I couldn't change how I looked, I could change my future through effort. A quiet, introverted student with few friends, I spent most of my time studying at home. While others went out, I stayed in, my nose buried in books. My hard work paid off when I earned a spot at a prestigious school, but to my shock, Yasmin was accepted there too, the following year. "You got into the same school as Taylor? You must have worked so hard. Not only are you beautiful, but you're smart too." Taylor barely made it in, especially with all the money spent on the tours. "Don't say that. I just studied for the exam," Yasmin would say with a proud grin. She smiled at me as if I should be happy for her. Instead, I felt crushed, caught between pride and frustration. The thought of going to school with my sister should have felt like a win, but instead, it only reminded me of how inadequate I felt. I retreated to my room, overwhelmed with emotions. I overheard my parents' conversation that day, their voices tinged with exasperation. I was lying in bed, sick with a fever, already drained from the constant comparison. It felt like life was stacked against me. My sister seemed to excel in everything effortlessly, while I struggled to keep up. I knew being bitter wasn't helpful, but it was hard to stay positive when no one understood what I was going through. I buried my face in my pillow, sobbing in frustration. I couldn't help but resent Yasmin for everything she seemed to have without effort. Since Yasmin started high school, she quickly became the center of attention, with even rumors swirling about her potential modeling career. My own high school experience, once promising, began to fall apart as I became the subject of teasing. "Yasmin isn't your little sister, the one in the first year? You two don't even look alike. Give me a break. I'm constantly being compared to my sister." I'd snap. It was exhausting. I withdrew further into myself, becoming more isolated, as my shy nature made it harder to connect with others. Even when boys I liked were around, I never had the courage to approach them. Meanwhile, Yasmin seemed to have no trouble navigating social situations, effortlessly charming everyone around her. "Big sis, you like that boy from the news club, don't you?" she'd ask with a sly grin. Her sharp observation caught me off guard, but I couldn't help but be irritated by her teasing. And as usual, her response was predictable. "You might want to reconsider." I dated him for a while, but it was so dull, I broke up with him quickly. She always seemed to swoop in and steal anyone I even thought of, dating and discarding them as easily as changing clothes. Yasmin's endless string of boyfriends never seemed to affect her. She was always surrounded by men enchanted by her charm. No matter how fickle she was, I couldn't help but feel envious of her ease in life. If only I had her looks, I thought, things might be different. After high school, I enjoyed a brief period of peace. Despite Yasmin following me to the same university, the campus was so large that our paths rarely crossed. Grateful for the chance to finally stand on my own, I took the opportunity to attend a prestigious school. This was my chance to step out of her shadow and start fresh. At university, I met a boy named Harry, who became my first husband. I graduated with my librarian qualification and began working at a local library. Harry found a job at his dream company, and we built a life together. After some time, I became pregnant with a girl. Life felt calm and fulfilling. I thought things would continue smoothly, but then Yasmin's return started to unravel everything. After a rocky stint in Chicago, Yasmin moved back home. She often dropped by for dinner, which disrupted our peaceful routine. "Big sis, I'm back again," Yasmin would announce, her presence immediately brightening the room. I was puzzled as to why she couldn't just eat at home, but she insisted on homemade meals. I learned that her mother, who had always been the one to cook, was now injured and relying on ready meals. The dinner table became a stage for her usual charm. Harry, who normally avoided cooking and would grumble whenever I dealt with morning sickness, suddenly became eager to help in the kitchen when Yasmin was around. It was almost as if he enjoyed the attention she lavished on him. Yasmin would always comment, "I wish I could marry someone like him," while touching him in ways that made me uncomfortable. I couldn't believe she was flirting with my husband. As my pregnancy advanced, my hope that Harry would stay supportive quickly faded. He began pulling away from home, and one day, after returning from a business trip, he dropped a bombshell. Yasmin was with him. "I'm sorry, but I want a divorce. I want to build a future with Yasmin," Harry said. "What? You're saying this now, with our baby on the way?" I was stunned, our views clashing completely. Despite my protests, Harry was determined. He had found true love in Yasmin. I turned to my sister in disbelief, asking, "Why him? Harry isn't particularly handsome, and he doesn't make a fortune." "Well, married men seem more stable," Yasmin replied, completely indifferent. "I became intrigued by your husband, and before long, we found ourselves drawn to each other. Do you even realize you're tearing our family apart, taking my child's father away from us?" I couldn't ignore my sister's betrayal any longer. This was something I couldn't forgive. "It's my fault, not Yasmin's," Harry defended, standing beside my sister, who showed no remorse. My anger quickly shifted to a sense of resignation. In despair, I packed up some belongings and left to tell my parents. They were horrified by the situation. Despite their past favoritism toward Yasmin, they insisted I stay with them until I was ready to return to work after giving birth. The divorce from Harry went smoothly, and the following month, I gave birth to my daughter. 3 years passed, and I remarried. Since the divorce, my daughter, Amy, bonded well with my new husband, and together, we built a happy life. Then, unexpectedly, I got a call from Yasmin. "Hey, big sis, how's it going? I have a baby now. I thought it'd be easier to raise my child near our parents, so I moved back in. Let's catch up soon." For 3 years, she had been silent, no contact with me or our parents. Now she was acting like nothing had happened, chatting casually and offering no apology. I was stunned by her sudden reappearance. "By the way, make sure you bring plenty of gifts, and tell Mom and Dad to forgive me. It's been 3 years, they can't still be mad," she said before ending the call. Things took a turn when I later received a text from her that said, "I'll end you, my husband, if you need," since we'd been estranged. I hadn't told her about my remarriage. She apparently still thought I was a single mother. Sighing in frustration, my husband, Ted, arrived home after work. He knew about the way my sister had taken my previous husband from me. When I told him that Yasmin was coming to the neighborhood, claiming it was to celebrate her baby's birth, he chuckled in surprise. "Your sister really has some nerve. If it were me, I'd be too guilty to show my face," Ted said sarcastically, holding me from behind. "She's always been like that, beautiful and getting away with everything. I've been jealous of her many times, and that feeling never really fades. It seems like the world just favors pretty people." Noticing my frustration, Ted smiled reassuringly. "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? You once thought a certain actor was handsome, but not everyone agrees. Your sister might be pretty, but she's not my type. People who get to know her often end up charmed, though." "I see. So, what if we go and greet her together?" Ted suggested. "What?" I gasped in surprise, and Ted laughed. "There's nothing to worry about. The idea that I could be interested in your sister is laughable. I'd even bet on it. Besides, if we sit down and set some clear boundaries, it might actually work out for you. His words struck me. He was right. I was tired of fearing my sister. Determined to face this head-on, I decided to meet her. On the appointed day, I arrived at the apartment where Yasmin and her family lived. Ted was running a little late due to work. "Welcome, big sis." Yasmin greeted me with a bright smile. Harry was there too, looking awkward. In the room, a tiny baby slept peacefully in a crib. "Isn't he adorable? This baby is proof of the love Harry and I share," she said nonchalantly, as if stealing my daughter's father had no impact. Yasmin continued bragging about her happiness and her perfect child. As usual, talking with her felt draining. Just being there made me tense. "By the way, where's your gift?" "Oh, did you forget? I suppose that's to be expected from a single mom with little money," Yasmin sneered. Just then, I received a message from Ted. "Actually, I'm not a single mom anymore. I remarried. My husband wanted to meet you, and he's brought a gift. Should I invite him in?" "Really? I'm curious to meet your new husband," Yasmin said with interest. She opened the door, only to freeze when she saw Ted standing there. "Ted, sorry I kept you waiting. I got delayed picking up a gift and had to pick up Amy from kindergarten," Ted said with a cheerful smile. Yasmin's face went pale as she whispered, "Ted, is that you?" "Yes, that's me," I replied. Ted, my current husband, was a classmate from high school. He was brilliant, handsome, and wealthy. Coming from a prominent family, Ted had always stood out, and we reconnected at a reunion. After my divorce, he pursued me with determination. Yasmin had tried to catch his eye back in school, but it didn't work out. "I can't believe Ted is now my brother-in-law. There's so much I want to catch up on. Can I have your number?" Yasmin asked sweetly, acting without restraint. Even though her husband, Harry, was right there, Ted sighed deeply in annoyance. "You haven't changed one bit. You may look good on the outside, but I can't stand a shallow, meddlesome woman like you. You're nothing like Taylor," Ted said sharply, his disgust evident as he handed her the baby gift. The present was from a high-end brand. It was striking how Ted, of all people, could treat my sister with such coldness. He was the only one who seemed to truly value me over her. "We're not here just to congratulate you but to ask you to stay away from my wife in the future. Taylor's been under a lot of stress because of you," Ted said clearly. A weight lifted off my shoulders. Meanwhile, Harry tried to engage with Amy, but she rejected him, clinging tightly to Ted. "Taylor and Amy are my precious family, so please stop causing trouble," Ted said firmly. "And just a note, Yasmin's behavior is inappropriate. She should try observing basic manners." He then took my hand and our daughter's, signaling it was time to leave. "Wait, Taylor, Amy," Harry pleaded desperately. Yasmin, stunned by our indifference, turned pale. Ignoring them, we left her apartment. I later heard from my parents that Yasmin had decided to divorce Harry. It seems the sight of my remarriage to someone like Ted really unsettled her. She compared Harry to Ted, his looks, personality, and wealth, and a huge argument broke out. Yasmin returned home, offering a flippant apology, but she still tried to meet Ted. It's clear she's holding on to some hope, but it's in vain, as Ted has made it clear he dislikes women like her. Following my husband's advice, I cut all contact with my sister. After switching jobs, she had an affair with a married supervisor, which was discovered by his wife. Now she's being sued by the wife, despite her allure. It seems some things about her haven't changed. I find myself laughing off these stories because I'm truly happy with my own family. My husband and daughter bring me immense joy, and I'm expecting our second child. My husband and daughter are eagerly anticipating the new addition to our family. Ted finds comfort in rubbing my belly gently, often expressing how peaceful he feels. We're excited for our future as a family of 4. While physical beauty can certainly shape one's path, relying solely on looks is tough. I'm focusing on personal growth and moving forward without comparing myself to anyone else. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Stay stunned.